those problems that he was talking about. But I like the sonority and the acoustic appeal that it presented enough for it to get to the point that when later on I had these problems that maybe he was suggesting, even though I had some of different version, but some of these problems that he was talking about in his music, I ended up finding myself represented and well documented within Lil Peep's lyrics, and it struck, like I said, it struck a major chord with me, following wise. Another thing about the album, so that was Ben's track. I don't know if I'm gonna do the entire track list. I'm just gonna say specific stuff about some songs. And then another thing that I loved about this album, and I kind of dislike a lot nowadays with the newer albums that are being released by artists, is short. This album is 7 tracks, but you can tell the 7, and he even mentioned, even though in the end the collection of the songs he had were all recorded in a few weeks, he had multiple songs throughout that month of recording that he had, but you can tell they just picked the best songs that delivered this idea of come over when you're sober, the idea of pain within a relationship or pain within just life, and seeking out for helping hand in 7 concise track without leaving behind the idea of I need to sell a top number of streaming albums, a top number of records in order to be successful and putting the best music that he possibly had. And this is one thing I personally stuck with me a lot, because I've always had the mentality that the maximum track length for an album that I enjoyed is 15. Maybe because I'm from a newer generation and we have a short attention span and everything. After 15 tracks, and even up to 15 tracks, my attention span just cannot handle any more tracks. So I personally hate a lot artists nowadays dropping songs like, and it's a personal preference, but artists nowadays dropping 20 tracks, dropping 20, 30 tracks with deluxe albums and those of music. I rather have 7 good tracks, and then in a couple of months you give me another 7 good tracks, rather than have low 20, 30 tracks and then I've got to pick for the best ones. And even maybe sometimes there are a good collection of good songs within those 30 songs, but it dilutes my enjoyment of your music when so much music is being proposed and launched at me. So that's one thing that I personally feel like I learned from listening to Lil Peep and everything. So there are some people, I can see there are some criticism from maybe an older generation of music listeners in regards to the album, and some of these critiques are the fact that the album is very emo. And I can understand that it is with the whole like I said, the album is based around the theme of, like the title says, come over when you're sober. So kind of relationship and friendship and seeking a handout, trying to fix yourself after, trying to fix yourself and then effectively not fixing yourself, going back into the loop of intoxication after a period of being hurt and everything. And I can understand how it may not be appealing to an older crowd, because it does present kind of that teenage anguish, teenage frustration and feelings that I understand that maybe if you're more of an adult and you're in your 30s or whatever age you are, if you're more of an adult, even an adult in soul, this topic and ideas may come off may not be necessarily appreciated as much. However, I always feel like this maturity and kind of finding good ways to cope with your emotions, to cope with problems you're having in life, and this teenage anger and frustration and kind of outbursts of emotion, even though I understand to some extent it may come off ridiculous, I do totally understand and feel like they are both they're two different sides of the same coin. I feel like this frustration with the world and with your surroundings and expressing it in such a childish manner, some may say, or superficial manner, is needed in order for a person to grow. So for a person to later on in life understand how to fix it. And to the people who don't like the album in terms of the context and the content it delivers, that was what I would suggest. I feel like this album is something, even though I do love enjoying it, I do see it more appealing in moments where I am personally struggling with mental health or emotional health or just health in general. It does have an extra layer of appeal or moments of sadness. But I feel like this album serves as a good balance for, at least in my personal life, it serves a good balance for in between the braggadocious, over the top, or I am better than you, I'm better than everybody, I'll take your girl, whatever, rap music that I do enjoy. This album is the counter opposite. Even though there are some braggadocious line on some songs like Ben's Truck or You Said and everything, and other songs, even Bright Side, there are still key elements of humility and hair that even on Ben's Truck, when he goes, your friends switch up when you're in a Ben's Truck. After bragging about having a Benz truck and reaching this point in life after so much growth and struggle, it still brings you and ties you down to earth. At least for me, it feels like regardless of all these braggadocious lines, there is still a part of humility and humanity in the artist, which I appreciate a lot, because I feel like, especially in the hip hop scene, there's this sense, especially through their music anyways, sometimes I feel like there's a feeling of that these artists are untouchable because of the music and the lines, and you need to come off cool and everything, and it loses some of the key elements and of struggle that sometimes everybody has. And I feel like sometimes hip hop can fall within these cliches of when it comes to struggle songs or struggle albums or struggle song ideas, where it's always, oh, how I struggle to reach my goal in this music, or maybe a loved one passed out, how I struggle to deal with this, or it's either those two, or it's one of my close friends or gang members, whatever you want to name it as, passed away. This is how I struggle to deal with them. And I totally appreciate that, but this is a thing that I feel like is being done over and over again by so many artists, that I felt refreshing that someone like Lil Peep could talk about. And nowadays, some of his topics have been more expanded by some other artists, not to the extent Lil Peep went to, and not necessarily successfully, but topics such as struggling to deal with the emotional disattachment period from a person that maybe you were dating or whatever, or the struggle with your mental health, or struggle with finding yourself in the world, which I really appreciate.